damaged products because of damage in transportation is like a $7 billion problem in North America every year. And so, the customers want to get their products that aren't damaged, of course. When we try to improve product stability, we try to maximize case packing. We try to maximize and stabilize palletizing and then contain the load better through optimal use of stretch film. One of the big post-pandemic problems that we see the industry and the food processors and manufacturers facing is, of course, the shortage of labor.
So hi there, food enthusiast. Thanks for tuning in to FutureFoodCast, where thought leaders in today's food industry discuss the trends and technology that will shape the future of the food. Today, we are speaking with Derek Jones and Rodney Grounds from ROBOPAC USA. I believe they are based out of Duluth, Georgia. Rodney and Derek, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing well. Thank you for the opportunity to join your podcast today.
That's great. Thank you. So Rodney and Derek, it's great to have you on the show. Would you mind sharing with our guests, about ROBOPAC USA, your product technologies, what you do, and any information on the context you think you might be relevant to our listeners?
Sure. I think maybe we should start with just a brief introduction. My name is, of course, Rodney Grounds, and I'm the Vice President of Sales at ROBOPAC USA. I'm joined with Derek Jones, who's our Marketing Director for ROBOPAC USA. A bit about ROBOPAC. ROBOPAC is a global company. Our headquarters are in Bologna, Italy. We have 9 factories where we manufacture different types of packaging technologies. We manufacture depalletizers, we manufacture case packers, palletizers, stretch wrappers, and then laser guided vehicles or autonomous forklifts. Each one of these is manufactured in a dedicated factory. We have factories around the globe, six in Italy, 1 in China, 1 in Brazil, and 1 out in Portland, Oregon. So true global company. We deal with over 120 countries around the world, which gives us a bit of a unique perspective when it comes to food and beverage markets. We see trends that may be very popular in Europe right now that haven't taken hold in the US and vice versa. So that's a bit about us and what we do.
I will add to that, this is Derek. One of the things people do find unique about us, even though we are a global company, our North American headquarters are here in Duluth, Georgia, and we typically keep 250 plus machines in stock at any given time. So that allows our companies like food and beverage manufacturing companies, distribution centers to quickly get a solution if they decide to use our organization for secondary packaging.
So Derek and Rodney, I imagine your role, as marketing and the VP, Vice President of the company, you follow news about the food and the packaging industry, some of the technology and the trends that's going on. Which trend is of the most interest to you and, for your organization, why?
That's a great question. There's one trend that seems to be above all others, and that is the trend for companies wanting to be more sustainable. And a lot of times in the food and beverage industries, what we're seeing is that companies want to reduce the amount of plastic that goes into a product. You already see manufacturers reducing the thickness of plastic containers. You see a lot of those kind of things out there. We've kind of taken it one step further. We have a research and development department that we fund that with about 3% of our annual revenues, and as a result, we have over 120 global patents. One of the areas we've worked on is more technology or up-to-date technology in the stretch wrapping equipment sector. Stretch wrappers are a vital part of any food manufacturer's line. It basically, once all the manufacturing processes have taken place and the packaging into a shipping container, it makes sure that load of goods is going to get to the final destination in good order. It's very important to wrap and protect these things. In the past, the solution has been, hey, if you need more protection, use more plastic, wrap more. Our company has developed a patented technology where we are able to do two things. We're able to do what's called varying the pre-stretch, multi-level variable pre-stretch of the film. So we're actually stretching the film out before it goes onto the pallet and really reaching the limit of the film stretchability. And the other thing that we can do is we can, in multiple layers of the pallet, we can change the containment force. So now, instead of just throwing more film in a pallet, we can scientifically come up with a wrap pattern to use the very least amount of film possible and get the best containment. We have a technology lab here in our facility in Duluth, Georgia, and we regularly test these loads, palletized and stretch wrap loads for the major food and beverage 500, food and beverage 100 type companies. And we've seen reductions in stretch film usage as high as 50%, but still the same containment. So if we can take 50% of the stretch film out of that waste stream, it's a huge win for sustainability on these companies. We recently, along with kind of an initiative that Derek, our marketing manager, has created, is we do for our customers what we call sustainability summits, where we encourage these customers to bring in their palletized loads, allow our experts to come up with new scientifically designed wrapping patterns, and we bring in the company's sustainability officers, their engineering departments, and we do literally pallet wrapping and testing hands-on and come up with a solution for customers to remove plastic from the waste stream, ultimately, is our goal. And the thing about that, and what's so important to these customers that go through that process, is we're able to provide them with a report, not only saying, hey, we can reduce the amount of plastic that goes onto a pallet by 50%, but we can kind of dive down into what that really means as a sustainability effort. How many fewer cardboard cores are you going to use? How many fewer trucks are going to be delivering film to your facility? How much less landfill space is going to be required? How much less energy is going to be required because you're not producing as much plastic? And we can put all those things in and give a customer an idea of the true sustainability that they're achieving from something just as simple as using less stretch film on the pallet. So that's one of the things that we see, and one of the things that we are really pushing to provide good solutions.
That's really interesting. Most of our discussions with the food industry leaders so far also has been on the packaging, the food packaging, and many of them are complaining and or sort of finding challenging to move on from the traditional way of packaging to a more like environment friendly packaging, which is more biodegradable and stuff like that, right? On starch based packaging. In your field, in your packaging industry, do you think in the future, is there something like this lies ahead, that you will be just moving away from the film packaging and then maybe to some other different form of packaging?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up. And so there's a lot of effort put into biodegradable films, and we're seeing some really big advancements in what I would call primary packaging films that are packaging pastries or something, for instance. We're not seeing as much success in the stretch film area for wrapping pallets with biodegradable, although there's several companies that are pushing and working on that, and I think we'll see that in the near future. But one thing I would tell you is I mentioned this technology lab we have. We've also partnered with some companies that are trying to come up with solutions where they're, instead of using as much stretch wrap, they're actually applying a little bit of glue in between layers of the palletization to keep the pallet stabilized with this with a glue that's a quick lock or an easy lock, where when you try to take the pallet off, it easily comes apart. So it allows you to use the stretch film instead of just being containment. Now it's basically just a dust cover. The containment is held by this gluing. So we've had probably in the neighborhood of a dozen trials with this one particular company coming up with formulations of this glue that work. And so we put it through the test. In our tech lab, we have vibratory shaker tables to simulate over-the-road transportation. We have acceleration sleds that mimic like a quick stop or a quick acceleration, those kind of things. So the the culmination of our stretch wrapping technology and these tools we have in our tech lab and partnering with innovative companies, I think we'll see more and more push toward reducing plastic even more, to your point.
That's great. So I think that really brings us to what are the current, some of the biggest challenges you're facing today. I'm sure the pre-pandemic challenges would have been different and the post-pandemic challenges have been different. Just want to build up on that, some of the current challenges in your industry. I mean, specifically in ROBOPAC, I must say.
Yeah. So what we see, and it's not only, we've talked a lot about stretch wrapping, but in all the segments of our business, whether it's case packing, whether it's palletizing, stretch wrapping, the laser guided vehicles, one of the big post-pandemic problems that we see the industry and the food processors and manufacturers facing is, of course, the shortage of labor. I talk to, in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 people a day that they're complaining about not being able to find labor. So we're getting asked more and more to send our applications out to do site visits, to study areas where they can automate processes that they're currently manual. And so we are seeing a lot of interest in palletization, automatic palletization as opposed to manual palletization. We're seeing a lot of people that are going away from a hand packing model where you're opening up an RSC case and forming it and hand packing and then sealing it, to a true automated throughput, automatic case packing procedure. So I would say the lack of labor that's available right now is fueling the need for automation at a higher pace than we've seen in quite some time. I think that the biggest gains we've seen in the last couple of years, and quite frankly, our business has been very brisk, is in fully automated systems and solutions. People aren't just kind of piecing together small portions. They want the full automated solution because of this labor shortage.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I'm sure in all these conversations that we had this far, I mean, labor shortage is something that's keep coming. It's pretty uniform across the board. So, and that really brings us to for me to ask another question, which is certainly you already pointed out, innovation and new technologies is something I think the way to go at this point. Are you working on any technology that you believe is something they want to bring up? You want our viewers to know anything. It could be like emerging technologies or any enterprise technology or any technology that you believe is really helping, or it will help potentially your business outgrow.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it is something that we have focused. We focus primarily in the area of Industry 4.0. That's a big word out there in the industry right now. The Internet of Things, and so we have developed a platform that we call RConnect, and RConnect is our trade name for our offering of Industry 4.0. So it basically provides a remote monitoring solution, a remote diagnostic solution, an ability to capture a lot of machine data that before wasn't available. And the unique thing about our approach is some of this information has been able to be gathered for many years, but it requires getting into a customer's network, and customers typically don't like that. The IT department doesn't like that. So the technology we've developed is a cellular-based technology. We'll put a cellular modem on our equipment, which sends up packets of information to the cloud. As a result, our end users, our customers, can, from their iPhone or iPad or mobile device, they can pull up a RConnect app and locate an exact machine. And from that machine, they can tell things like, the mean time between failure, the machine's availability. That way they can judge and see if the machine's being used effectively. They can pull things like on the case of a stretch wrapper, how many loads per hour are we wrapping? How much stretch film quantity and gram weight is going on each load? The technology allows us to set some parameters that if the machine falls outside of those parameters, it sends a text message to the customer to let them know that there's something wrong. It also does some predictive maintenance as well. You can load in maintenance schedules and tie that into the equipment. And based on our experience of hours of operation, it can give your maintenance department preventative text message, hey, it's time to do this onto a machine. So I think that technology of being actually able to monitor these machines remotely, not just on the plant floor, but at the management level, it helps us do mainly the main thing we like to say is we have the resources here to do a lot of testing and set the standards for your package, whether it's the case packing portion, the palletizing, or the stretch wrap, and we can set that standard. And now with this ability of RConnect to do the monitor remotely, we can make sure those standards are honored, that they don't go off track. And the management of the company that's agreed to these standards we've set has peace of mind that they're going to be followed on the plant floor, and someone can't go out and make modifications for no particular reason. So I would say that this jump into the industry 4.0 through our RConnect platform is something very exciting for our customers.
And just to add to that, one of the things people like we sell a lot through distribution, our dealer network, and one of the things that they do is they sell consumables. So they would like, and it really helps them with RConnect understanding, what the film usage is for these organizations, so they can actually be added through RConnect to be able to monitor, or at least be prompted when they're running low on film, or it's time to ship more film. So that can all kind of be tied into it as well.
Great point. One of the things that keeps coming, while we talk to some of the industry leaders, is transparency in supply chain. I know it may not be that much of an interest in your industry, specifically the packaging per se, but one thing we are seeing is that the consumers are more interested in seeing the whole life journey, the product life cycle, the product journey, specifically from the growers or the farmer to to the supply chain logistics, the third party logistics, fourth party logistics, and retailers, and then to the consumer. So they're more interested in seeing the journey just maybe like a QR code, just scan it and see, okay, when was this package and things like that. So what does that mean in your industry? Do you see that thing is of much significance?
So you're right that we're more on providing automation and equipment, so we don't see this much. But what I will tell you is that, as I mentioned before, we quite frequently are doing business with some of the largest multinational companies in the world. I've noticed a trend over the last 5 to 7 years that in these companies' terms and condition packets that we must review before we enter into a big project, there's more and more about this transparency, about us agreeing to, share our employment practices, penalties for using, questionable labor sources, those kind of things. So I think that all falls back to this transparency that their final customers are demanding, that they want to buy a product that's produced fairly, with and safely, and those kind of things. On a pure standpoint of how it affects our equipment, like we're being asked more and more to provide systems that are tracking data through the system. To your point of scanning a QR code and seeing where things have done. So tracking and traceability is big in the industry, and we're asking to provide more solutions with collecting data, making that data available to a print and apply label type machine. So those aren't pieces of equipment that we manufacture, but they are pieces of equipment that we routinely integrate into our systems. And it's for that exact reason. The products need to be labeled, the data needs to be tracked, where you have that traceability.
Yeah. Great. Okay, that's good. Anything, Rodney and Derek, you want to build up on the CSR activities that you're involved in? Maybe it's the carbon offset program. That's one of the other things we keep listening about, how some of the organizations are really thinking about it, about the carbon offset programs, and how they believe that they need to be contributing much about it, and sort of seeing as to what is their contribution, just to offset the carbon, from the environment. And so anything.
Yeah, I think that goes back to Derek's idea that we started about a year ago with these sustainability summits.
Right.
I've been in the packaging industry for 25 years, and over the last 10 years, there's been a new level of management in most of these food and beverage companies, which are sustainability officers. And so, of course, they're tasked with exactly what you ask about, reducing carbon footprint. And so they're looking for all kinds of gains. Some things that we may have not seen as significant in the past are very significant to them. So if they can reduce 25% of the plastic they put on a pallet to contain their shipment, that's a big gain for them, especially if we, as Derek's been able to do, can trace that down from the reduction in plastic and what does it mean to the carbon footprint, which are reports that we can provide our customers. So it's a big part of the game now. We have, I think, been keenly aware of it for about the last couple of years, that it's something that our customers want to see. Typically, that's something that, instead of coming in at the tail end of the conversation with the customer, it's usually one of the front end pieces, where, if you told me 5 years ago, it would be like an afterthought. Now it's on the forefront with our customers, who are, again, our food manufacturers and producers. They're concerned about their task with reducing that carbon footprint, and we have to respond by providing equipment that allows them to do that.
That's great. So, we have talked a little bit about, your work in the packaging industry, which is like more than 25 years. Now let's put your consumer hat on, and as a food consumer, what is important to you when it comes to the food you eat?
So I think food safety is number one, right? You want to make sure you're buying food that is safe to consume. And I can tell you that over the years I've been in the business, the level that companies go to provide that food safety is at an all-time high. These food factories that we go to are very safe places. A lot of that is, there's now more and better ways to track and trace. So if you do have an issue, you can identify it very quickly. But I think food safety is probably the number one concern of mine. Derek, from a marketing perspective, may like a nice marketing package or something, but I food safety is number one to me.
Yeah, I mean, we deal a lot with for example, the poultry industry. Just in harsher, colder, wet environments, we need to make sure that our machines run properly on with their products, and at the end of the day, get the products that they're creating, whether it's, in this case, chicken, eggs, things of that nature, to the final customer in as-made condition. So, and our machines do that.
Yeah, I think that's something that we see quite frequently, and when we're asked to bid or come up with a solution, is, how can we help them address food safety concerns? And as Derek already mentioned, a lot of that is through things like being stainless steel construction, wash down, things as simple as easy accessibility to operators where they can get in and do thorough cleaning. We're asked more and more to operate in different temperature environments. Derek had mentioned cold rooms, freezer rooms, those kind of things. So our technology had to change over the years to address some of these concerns that are directly related to food safety.
And one of the things is that I think you are more into B2B space, right? So there's no B2C, right? For sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the questions that we ask, industry leaders is, since Derek, you're from the marketing side of the house, one of the questions we ask is, how are consumers looking at it? How are consumers looking at your product? What sort of reviews you get? What are some of the top reviews or top feedbacks that you get? And I mean, I'm sure you guys be running some sort of a metrics or some sort of a business BI, business intelligence sort of a thing to see what are some of the, top feedbacks from maybe the customers or.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we are B2B, so we don't get a lot of feedback direct from the end users. They probably don't know who we are or what we do. But I can tell you, damaged products because of damage in transportation is like a $7 billion problem in North America every year. And so, the customers want to get their products that aren't damaged, of course. And so when we try to improve product stability, we try to maximize case packing. We try to maximize and stabilize palletizing and then contain the load better through optimal use of stretch film. All those are designed to get the product from point A to point B without any damage. If you think about it, if there's I think it's $7.2 billion worth of damaged product annually, that's a huge amount of product that's probably going into a landfill somewhere. That product is typically not reusable. It's going into, so that's another step towards sustainability. So as equipment manufacturers that manufacture pieces of equipment for secondary packaging, we're always looking at ways to make a better package where products get to their destination as they're supposed to be. So as the consumer may not know exactly what we're doing, they do appreciate when they go to buy that box of cereal off the shelf that the box isn't demolished, right? So that's really where we come into that. But we really have no set of criteria or studies with end users as it relates to our part of this industry.
Good to know. Yeah, that's a good stat. $7.2 billion damage goods. Yeah, that's a lot annually. This is worth a study, worth a research paper on it as to like why this happened and how we can minimize this. But yeah, good information. So I think Rodney and Derek, I think I have covered pretty much what I should have been covering from a packaging standpoint. Normally I have more questions, for someone who is into the food industry per se, there are more things, more challenges there. Anything you think that we might have missed or anything you wanted to add that would be really good into this soundbite, into this podcast?
First, we'll talk about a customer that came to us with a need to automate their case packing. This particular customer was in Central Texas, and they manufacture salad dressing, glass bottles of salad dressing. They had 3 production lines, a very busy company, and they were manually packing 6 packs and 12 packs of salad dress bottle into a cardboard box and manually sealing those boxes and manually palletizing those boxes. So we were able to sell them a solution with 3 automatic case packers. Now the products come from their filling line directly into our machine. We put them in the case automatically. We seal the case automatically. Once they come out of our machine, they go into a palletizer. So we automatically palletize those onto a wooden pallet. And as they're being palletized, we have a thing called concurrent stretch wrapping. So it wraps the pallet as the pallet's being built. So now they have what they call 3 shepherds, which are basically one person that can go and monitor each one of these lines. So they went from around 30 employees to 3 employees to do this type of work. Wow. So it helped them. Many of those employees were able to be replaced in other areas of the factory where they needed help. It's not like, hey, we're just getting rid of employees. We're moving those to jobs that require more than somebody just mindlessly putting bottles of salad dressing into a case. So that's one area that was a nice success story to talk about. The other one that I can talk about is in the stretch wrapping portion of our business. We do business with one of the largest water bottling companies in the country. And they actually are a very well-run company, and we're doing a lot to reduce the plastic that they use in their product. We came to them with the idea of this technology we have that can reduce the amount of stretch film. So through a series of tests with their engineering department here at our technology lab, they were convinced that our solution would allow them to reduce the amount of plastic on their pallets. Again, being mindful that this company is someone that's been studying sustainability for some time, we were able to reduce the amount of plastic or stretch film that goes on their pallet by 21%. This particular large company was spending in excess of $11 million per year on stretch film. So a 21% reduction in stretch film is a big number. That's just right to the bottom line, not to mention the sustainability gains that they were able to achieve by seeing that. And as we followed up, this particular customer took advantage of our remote monitoring system. So we can see that over time, they've been able to reduce that amount of stretch film to even a lower level than what we had tested. And we can see that, through that, we now can monitor and see, what that sustainability impact is for them, which is very positive to their group. So those are just a couple of success stories, as Derek mentioned.
Yeah, they're worth the white paper on that. It's worth a study.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good achievement there. And I believe some of these machines that you have, build up, were these special purpose machines only for the special task, or you could pretty much use those machines, for other?
That's a great question. So we have two ranges of equipment. Our semi-automatic equipment are basically stock machines. They're already a pre-configured stock application, and they fit a huge range of applications. The automatic systems that we sell a lot of all come from base model machines that are configurable through a bunch of options to fit a certain solution. So we may have the same base model machine for a water bottling company as we do for a company that makes salad dressing, but through a different set of options, we customize it for that application. So on an automatic machine, there's standard offerings that are customizable through a large list of options that are specific to industry and application.
Well, thanks, Derek Jones and Rodney Grounds. Really appreciate your time on the podcast today. Viewers, thank you very much for tuning into the Future Foodcast. I hope that you find this content helpful. And, thanks for your time. Everybody, have a good one. Enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.